Mental health and substance use is a chronic disease, and it should be seen as such. Our mission and bigger picture is to help all those people that are in need that don't get seen. They're not a cancer patient or they don't have something chronically physically wrong with them. So yeah, we're just not gonna treat them. It's so empowering for an adult to be able to have an impact on a child and for them to understand that they are something more than what they were told when they were little. They're something more than just their environment in that time.
Which one of the most difficult labors you think you ever overcame?
There was a nun and she said, oh, I know this type. She's gonna get pregnant early and she's not gonna finish anything and she's not gonna become anything.
We had the surgery, we made it, and I think we came home on that Thursday and then we lost a child. It was terrible. It was terrible.
I don't think you ever bounce back. I think as a parent, we don't.
All right, welcome to Beyond the Label podcast. I'm excited. I got a killer show today. I've been waiting to do this episode. I just wanted to know, how many Beyond the Label podcasts have you watched? None of them, thank you. Okay, I'm excited. I was thinking that. So this is my business partner, even owns the company and has no idea what I do shooting these things, but I'm not going to brag, but last month I made $11. So, we'll split that up at the end of the year. But, I'm excited. I want to give the audience, kind of insight to marriage. I think a lot of couples look fake. I've been at the time where we're arguing and then I got to be fake in certain places, or you see the couples that are disastrous, but then they take these, crazy family photos and, so I wanted to give some insight, especially coming from a business partner. Relationship, marriage is extremely hard. I would always tell you, like, one day I'll get you your own practice, and you're like, I don't believe you. But I just want to share a little bit about your journey, just a true success story. You don't see a lot of, I think people that overcome a lot of challenges that you had. I want to, learn a little bit, especially speaking, tell me a little bit, where you come from and where you thought you were, what you're going to be at 5 years old to now.
Yeah, so, obviously, I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I was born and raised there until I was about 7 or 8. During that time, my dad ventured into the United States because he wanted to get a better licensure for treating airplanes. So he was over here for an entire year. My mom and my grandma basically partnered up and took care of us four. We were in Puerto Rico, and then finally my dad sent us tickets, and we got on a plane with my mom and came to New York, from New York to Ohio. And we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment first in Springfield. So it was my parents and then me and my siblings in another bedroom. I remember there was a Christmas where one of us got chicken pox, and then my mom just put all of us together. So 3 of us got chicken pox, and Crystal never got chicken pox.
Oh, man.
So that was fun. But I came here, like I said, 7 or 8 years old, experienced snow for the first time, hate snow now as an adult.
I told you we could move,
I know, we do
that's
need to
another
move.
podcast.
And since then, we changed schools quite often, which is something I don't want to do with my kids because it was a lot on us changing schools. I started off at Springfield, and then from Springfield went to Toledo Public Schools, that ended up at a school that was specific for kids that had language barriers, because coming over I only knew Spanish. So when we started at Springfield Schools, they got me a tutor, but the tutor was from China. So
everything.
I don't know what they were thinking there. But my mom was a trooper because at that time she wasn't working. So my dad was the only one working. So she would, take us to school or get us on the bus. We only had a car at that time. She would make sure she get us on the bus. We'd go to school. Then we would come back home, and she had the entire living room just decked out in English words. All the way on the walls. So when we came home, it was like going back to school again, because she was going through all the words and everything that we needed to know to be able to speak English well enough. And at some point, she got us all pretty fluent there. But I think we were in Springfield schools for maybe 2 years. And then we moved to Toledo, and we ended up going to TPS schools, which weren't, in my opinion, weren't any better than the Springfield schools in the way that in Puerto Rico you don't see color there, I guess.
Well, explain that a little bit. I think a lot of people think Puerto Rico might be a different country. You got to get citizenship here. I know you mentioned going to New York, and a lot of people come in through that way. Explain what's the difference between maybe America and Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the United States. It's not a state, but we share. So like United States has a basal base or a naval base there. Now we also we do taxes now there from the United States. Everything is basically governed like the United States is. You can come and go from the United States to Puerto Rico, from Puerto Rico to the United States. I'm a citizen of the United States. So you don't need a visa or anything like that coming over. I think that's a big misconception that I have a visa. But I don't. I am a United States citizen. And that's been, Puerto Rico's been a commonwealth of the United States for a long time.
What's one of the favorite things about Puerto Rico that you remember?
The heat. Is the culture. I feel like people there are always happy.
Really?
We're just always happy. There's always music. There's always good food. Like I said, I just feel like there you don't see color. We're a beautiful mixture of white, blacks, and browns. I mean, the Puerto Rican culture, comes from Indians who were on the island at first, and then as the slave trade kind of came around, obviously there was African Americans that came through, there was Christopher Columbus that came through, so we're a mixture of blacks and whites and brown people.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Our son Josiah is always like, did you know God made me brown and white? Just every day he tells me that, and he's perfect. What's one of your what attracted maybe your parents to coming to America? What was that like, and what could you remember about America when you were very young?
Yeah, so I think the main thing for my parents coming over here was the opportunity. And I think that's what it is for a lot of people that do come to America. It's the land of opportunities, but that's what it was for my parents. Puerto Rico still to this day, I don't believe they don't have a good social economy there. The schools aren't great. Jobs are probably not the best. It's become more of a tourist attraction than most things, to my opinion anyway. So they came here for a better living, for more opportunities for us. And I think it was they did good. I will always thank my parents for bringing us here. When I was younger, I didn't see it, at first, and it wasn't until I think we did our first challenge day, where I came home that day, and I remember calling both of my parents and thanking them for bringing us here and for giving us the opportunities that we didn't see when we were younger. But now I get to see that as an adult, because there's no way that in Puerto Rico I would have, maybe I probably would have finished college, but to be where I'm at today, I don't think I would have done that there. Or maybe I would have moved myself. Maybe I would have been an adult and then I would have moved to the United States. But
yeah, no, I think it's interesting. What's some jokes that maybe Puerto Ricans have about American? What do they think about Americans? Because I feel like sometimes, it's just my opinion, like Americans are ungrateful for the opportunities and rights that we have. I also think it's, you look at a lot of studies in other countries, not Puerto Rico, but countries that have like limited resources, the suicide rates are 0 to none versus America, and some of the things are like the pressure that we have here, the amount of things we have to have. Like, a lot of people don't realize this. If you make, I think it's $30,000 a year, anywhere, you're in the top 1% of the world income-wise.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, but money's different in different places and stuff. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure here. There's a lot of stuff, just to even make it. So what are some of the labels that maybe Puerto Ricans put on Americans? What would you hear all the time?
Yeah, what I heard a lot from, I hear this from my grandparents too, but my parents, that Americans are lazy.
Lazy.
They're lazy. Now, do I believe that all Americans are lazy? No. That's not a thing that ever stereotype that we need to put on everybody. But, I just feel like the difference between like coming to like a bigger country when you're living in a small island, like the island here, we just run so fast, right? It's just society. It's the way that we got to keep going. We gotta go through. We gotta make a living. We gotta make our money and stuff. In Puerto Rico, you can make a living by selling fruit on the street. You've been there. When we went there, people have their little stand and they're selling their fruits. They're selling, drinks that they're making from the coconuts, like that type of stuff. It's just a different type of lifestyle, and it's very just relaxed. Yeah. So I feel probably like stress levels are lower, and they're just happier there. Not saying you can't be happy here, but it's just the lifestyle you choose to live. Yeah. And I don't think Americans are lazy, but we definitely have a hard work ethic. We got to work hard for our money there. So like when we come here and we have more opportunities here, of course, we're going to strive to get to the top. We're not going to just sustain at, this is good. We're going to continue to grow and keep going. And I feel like that's, a thing that my parents have always taught me. I'm always going to be the best. I'm always going to strive to be the best. My personal best. Not what someone chooses to be my best, but my personal best.
Yeah, one of the things I love being over there, I remember, is like the entrepreneurship spirit. Like you said, people selling probably the best chicken I ever had on the side of the road. And like, they just get it. I feel like it's a different culture here in America. Obviously there's a lot of entrepreneurs and stuff. What are some things? I know you started working, I think, at the age of 3 or something. But what are the things like you took from growing up? Because a lot of times work ethic is good. Like I look at, to me, Hispanics have been one of the most hardworking groups that I see. But does it correlate to success sometimes? Is it, hard? What are some of the skill sets you took from when you were younger, how you worked, to now as a leader, running businesses yourself?
Yeah. So I think one thing is, how you define success. Because for some people that don't aspire to be business owners, success could be they got their family out of low income. Yeah. They got themselves a good job. All their kids went through college, and they get to see and spend time with their grandkids now. And they get to have a nice, stable living. That could be successful, which, to my mother, that is success for her. Yeah. That's what she's been able to do with the help of my dad. Of course, at some point was get here. Now she gets to spend that time with her kids, or she just gets to spend time doing stuff for herself that she didn't get to do because she was raising all of us and getting us through school and just getting us here, period. But gosh, when did I think I was like maybe 11 or 12. My parents worked. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom eventually started working as a nursing assistant in a nursing home. And then on top of that, we had 6 paper routes through the blade. So we'd probably get up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, depending, because Sundays were the early days. They were thick papers that we had to throw. So we get up about that early Monday through Sunday, get in our parents' cars. We'd go to the blade distribution center, put all the papers together, and then we'd start. My dad would take a couple routes with 2 of us, and my mom would take the other routes with the rest of us. We'd go through our papers, come home, have breakfast, get dressed, and get to school. My parents would get to their jobs, And at some point, we would have another paper route after school that were just advertisements that we would go do, But I mean, at that time, we had to make ends meet. And I understand that we're a family. It's not only my parents' responsibilities to feed me. We're a family, so we do everything together. We clean the house on Sundays together. My dad and my brother fix things around the house. Me and my sisters cleaned with my mom. We made food. We always had dinner together as a family. We always prayed together as a family at the dinner table. Family is just a very, very important thing. I mean, that to me is success. Being able to keep a family together, especially in the day of time that we are in now.
So when you think about family, what does that mean? Everybody has different families, but to you, what's a perfect family?
My perfect family. Well, I don't necessarily think it's about perfection, because there's going to be different stages in life for families, and not until just recently did that concept click in my head. I can't remember who the psychologist was, but he said, the mom that you are for your first child will never be the mom that you are for your second, the mom that you are for your third or the fourth. They're always going to get a different mom. And I feel like that's how the family phases go too, right? So when we had Ariella, we were young. Yep. And by the time we had Jeremiah, then by the time we have Josiah, now that we had Josiah, we owned a business. We were pretty stable with the house. So the mom that I was for Ariella, where we didn't own a business, we had just moved into low income. That mom isn't the same mom that I'm being for Josiah. That mom has now aged, 10 years before we had him. So I feel like that's how the family dynamics will go too, and that we get to incorporate that into our children. Like, hey guys, now we're getting bigger. Now we have all these other things, right? We live in a really nice house in a really nice neighborhood. We go to nice schools. This is how the family starts to operate, and that's how you build growth within your own kids and success within your own kids.
If you could talk to that younger mom when you had Ariella from now, what would you tell her?
Not to sweat the small things.
Yeah.
And to enjoy the time. I don't want to get sentimental.
It's all right.
But my goodness, she's 13 now. Just like this morning, I dropped her off at school. She got embarrassed because I drove up and I thought I was going to drive up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But she wanted to get off earlier, so she opened the door as I was driving, and then she closed. She goes, "Mom, you embarrassed me," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry."
I would have told her I'm getting out and hug you. I tell her all the time, I'll park the car and walk you up there. I have no problem.
Yeah, but just thinking, I was actually thinking about that in the car. Her being little, playing in the playroom.
Yeah.
At our Toronto house.
Yeah,
and stuff to her.
That was the coolest.
Being now.
I remember we thought we were rich.
Yeah,
remember that little house, and then the pipes burst.
Yeah.
We came a long way. I know it's challenging, especially coming from certain areas, or even having the label as a young mom, not married. I remember the food stamps people saying, "You better get a good baby daddy," and I'm right there like, chill out, But what's one of the most difficult labels you think you overcame?
I think there's been a few. Like I said, when we first came here, we started at Springfield schools, and they were predominantly a white community. So coming in and not speaking English, a lot of the kids would always ask me what color are you? And I would always tell them I'm brown like the crayon, I'm brown like the crayon. And then when we moved from there and we went to TPS schools, we started at Kaiser. Kaiser was predominantly African American. So then even there, I feel like I didn't fit in because I wasn't African American. There was one white child there, and then there was me. So after we moved from that school, we went to a school that was for kids that had the language barriers. And a lot of kids there were either Mexican or they were Puerto Rican. So I definitely fitted in better there. So just overcoming that barrier of understanding the differences of color and how groups partnered up that way. Even as a child, You know, like I would be left out of certain groups and stuff because maybe I didn't look like them or speak like them. So, I mean, I've definitely overcome that aspect of stuff in society. I think itself, too, has as we've grown. And then when we had Ariella, it was overcoming that stigma of, well, because I remember there was a nun when I went to Queen of Apostles, and she said, oh, I know this type. She's going to get pregnant early, and she's not going to finish anything, and she's not going to become anything. And, you know, she would tell it to my mom because I was a troublemaker, you know, just because I didn't conform to rules, or I didn't do things like this specific nun wanted me to, because I was always compared to another child. And that's okay, because I didn't end up being what she said I was going to be. You know, yes, we had our daughter early, but that we didn't give up. We didn't just stay stuck in low income and getting food stamps. You know, we had Ariella, we continued going, we went to school together. You went through your bachelor's, I finished my bachelor's, and you got your master's degree. And after that, I got my master's degree. The low-income stuff was tough. Getting the food stamps was tough because they did not treat you nice at all by any means. They were long lines, sitting there all day, waiting to get through the line, and then you got there, and then the lady, of course, you know, it's rough on their side too, because you have like the people that are upset, you know, on our end, and then they have to deal with us. But they didn't make it any easier for me to go up there and say, hey, you know, what's going on with the food stamps, or the fact that I even needed food stamps, because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a young mom. There is a dad in the picture, but we're trying to make a living. You know, we are working hard. And then for someone to sit there and judge me and tell me, oh, you have food stamps, so you're not working hard enough. No, I am working hard enough. I'm still just not making enough money to be able to support me and my child. You know, and I feel like even if it was a married couple at that stage in life, even if we were married and had a house, we were still not making enough money doing what we did at that time.
How would you empower a mom that's going through that same situation right now? What would you do to fix the system?
I would tell that mom to keep going, but the mentality that she has to have is that this is not it. Like, she needs to persevere, and she needs to have a mentality that she is more than just this system. So she can't get stuck and just, oh, well, I'm low income, I get food stamps, the system needs to give me these things. No, we're better than the system. We need to outgrow the system. The system wasn't put there for us to live in it the entire time. The system was put there to help us so that we can become better. And that is the mentality that we do need to have, is that we have to become better than the system. I don't know how I would fix the system. That is a good question. Empowering. I feel like we have to continue to empower our youth, and we have to continue to empower our mothers that are in poverty, even our fathers that are in poverty, because there's not only mothers, there's dads out there that are working hard to get their kids out and to get their families out of a broken system. But people need to continue pushing forward and getting the education needed to get the jobs that they want.
Yeah. You know, one, I want to, thank you for always believing me. And then two, I must be one hell of a salesman because, I got out of incarceration, had a GED. You speak better English than me. Probably write better too. But, I remember just telling you, like, trust me, we're going to have this, we're going to have the business, we're going to do this. Like, what made you believe in me?
Your eyes. No, I'm just kidding. That's it. That was it. Your baby blue eyes. No. I don't know, Jake. I just saw it in you. Maybe you are a good salesman. You are a good salesman, but I feel like you. I don't want to say sold these things to me, but you told me, like, hey, Nicole, this is where we're going, and you can come if you want to. Yeah. And I said, for sure, I'm right there, because everyone always says, oh, look how good Jake is, and part of it, you did this. You made him this way. You made him that way. You kept him sober. I didn't do that. You did that. Right? And I saw you doing that.
Yeah.
If you had continued going the wrong path and you wanted to become nothing, and yes, you sold me all these things, getting a house, you can do all that stuff and not do what you did. You could be a drug dealer and you could have a nice house and nice cars, but you're thinking with the wrong mentality. You changed your mentality around. And that's what I saw. Is that he changed his mentality around. He is going to be a different man. He's going to be the man that he promised he would be. And I'm going to make sure that I keep that going. You know, being a partner in a relationship takes two people. You know, because sometimes that other partner can stray in a different way in their mentality, and the other partner has to be able to come in and say, hey, hold on, let's take a pause for a second. This is what we promised each other. This is what we wanted. So this is no longer what you want, because I'm bringing you back to reality. I'm your accountability partner.
Like
so, I mean, that is what I saw in
you know?
Yeah, kind of like your probation officer, but not your probation officer.
Yeah. No, I think I was on probation from like 11 to 21, but that's another thing. But, no, I think, you know, I always, you know, appreciate, you know, you're always the one. And, you know, it's just hard. I think a lot of people might see the outside and us coming to work, and we have to be leaders, you know, because we can't break down, you know, because if shit hits the fan and we go, you know, the rest of the team don't believe in us, you know. And I appreciate, because I'm sure there's been a lot of people your whole life, you know, with the labels I have, you know, high school dropout, dyslexic, felon, you know. I'm sure it's hard to deal with that too. You know, how many people would give you shit, you know?
Yeah, I was given shit all through high school because you were younger than me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like I said, I've never been that person to care. I've always been that person to, okay, I mean, you can label this person this, but I'm going to find out for myself, you know? And once I find out for myself, then I will then label that person what I think. And I never thought any of that stuff about you. Then again, it could be that healing personality in me, because I am a nurse and I like to help people and fix things. But again, I didn't fix you. You did that yourself. Yeah. And I've always told that to people. You know, he fixed himself. I was just there to support him. Yeah. You know, and sometimes that's all people need, is somebody just there that believes in them. Because my goodness, like, if you just have one person that believes in you, that's all that it takes for you to start believing in yourself again. Yeah. You know, and get to where you want to get to, because you're always going to have that person right behind you. Yeah. You know,
one thing I think that, you know, some of the challenges, you know, we took a lot of punches over the years. I mean, ups and downs, and, you know, I kind of feel like God won't give you something you can't handle, but sometimes I'm like, shit, dude. Like, you know, the time you had that devastating injury. I remember the day we paid all our medical bills off, and then I'm glad you're okay now, but you snapped your pinky toe, you know. And then that year became a really hard year, you know. And then I was diagnosed with cancer, you know. How was that as a mom, like dealing with a husband with, you know, potential to pass away in 6 months?
No, that was a lot. I mean, after the storm was kind of like over, my therapist said, Nicole, you're in survival mode. And you've been in survival mode. You know, because, I mean, I didn't notice it now. I look back now and I can see that, but, and again, nothing against you, because I love you. You've always been there. But when you have a partner that is ill, you kind of step into both of those roles, you know. And again, it wasn't like your fault. You know, you were sick, you were tired, you were going through all your radiation stuff. So I was mom and dad to some extent in the house, with the kids, and just making sure that everything was okay. And I'm an anxious person to begin with, so my anxiety was just through the roof. And I feel like at some point I just got into like an overdrive mode, you know. You just gotta keep going until eventually there's an end there. And I mean, at some point I feel like I lost that tunnel. I just continued in overdrive mode. Kind of forgot that, hey, this needs to stop at some point.
Yeah.
And you got to get yourself
worse.
back.
Remember, every 2 weeks, they're like, well, the worst could be this. And the next week would come, they're like, oh, shit, it's way worse. And I remember you stomping your foot. Them students, the doctors kept composure, but them students would squeal. You step your foot. What is it? And you're like, it might be this, And,
it was a lot because I feel like it was hard. Me being a nurse and knowing what I know, especially being like an ICU nurse and then going through my courses for my nurse practitioner, it was hard to step into that role of just being like this concerned wife where I'm like, I know all this stuff. So what is it? How am I going to treat him? How am I going to fix him? How am I going to save him? So I think at times it might have seemed to you like I didn't care because I was stuck in that provider mode.
I remember that day too. I was like, man, she's kind of an asshole, but all the doctors kept saying the most outrageous stuff when we went to the clinic. And at that time, COVID, you couldn't even be with me. And normally that office was like chaotic just because, there's so many patients there, doctors, and all the girls were on the computer, like just typing. And they were finally nice to me. They're like, Mr. Spellis, Mrs. Spellis. And you broke down. It was hard. You were my hero. And I was like, the doctor's like, you have cancer. And I was like, fuck it. Clapped my hands and stood up. And I was like, oh, man. It was hard. It
was hard. I feel like I didn't cry too much around you because, I just felt like, I have to stay strong for you and for the kids and stuff. But I remember there was nights you would sleep or you were sleeping and I would stay up. Then I would look at your face and your hair and memorize your face. But by the grace of God, you are here and you are healthy somewhat.
Yeah.
No, and you're still facing obviously like things, from that and effects that come with it. But
I don't talk about it a lot, but it's hard, and I feel like it's gonna be terrible, Nicole. But fathers, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
And we had the surgery, we made it, and I think we came home on that Thursday, and then Monday we came home, and we lost a child.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I don't know how to bounce back. It kind of.
I don't think you ever bounce back. I think as a parent, you don't. I think about it often, and sometimes, because there's so many different losses. There's, a miscarriage and stillborns and babies that you lose at a year old or 2 years old. And I think it all hurts the same or more. And that was painful because we didn't know that you had the cancer when you got pregnant. And then it's like you found out you had cancer. Then I found out I was pregnant. At the same time, COVID is here, and
I feel like I didn't even give a shit about COVID. Like that wasn't even a concern,
And then you had your surgery, and then a week later, I had my DNC. And that was horrible. It's horrible, I think, for all moms to, just know that they're either miscarrying or they have a stillborn. But to know that there was something growing inside you. And then I remember we went, and she said, well, it's not, the baby's not growing, so I'll see you in 2 more days. Or something like that. And then 2 more days, it was, the heartbeat was just getting
it was getting fainter and stuff, but then I had to come back for another heartbeat check because technically there could be no heartbeat before they went and did the surgery. But as a mom carrying something inside, it's hard going back, you know, to know, like, hey, I'm going back to, so that they can check that there isn't a heartbeat. And then having to carry the baby and have those symptoms of pregnancy still, because, you know, your body still thinks that it is pregnant and it's gotta, the hormones start to go down and stuff. But I remember I think it was a Thursday, and then I had to wait all the way to Monday or Tuesday for my DNC.
I'm sorry.
It was hard. Not a lot of people talk about that stuff, but
I didn't plan on talking about it today. I just
oh no, that's fine. I mean, I feel like not a lot of people talk about the like miscarriage and the early stages and all that stuff. Like, I didn't know too much about it ever, and I feel like my doctor's office was just very like, oh well, you know, you can either do this or you can do that. They were just very like nonchalant about it, like it happens every day. And to me, I'm like, I feel like this doesn't happen every day. But after I did some research and stuff, I mean, it does happen a lot more often than people do think that it does.
Yeah, no, I think you know, man, we kind of gotta get back to work, and you know, it's you know, hurts us too.
Yeah,
you know?
agree.
You gotta support the mom, so you can't be weak. You know, you can't be weak in, you know, society. And it's really you know, it's hard. You know, but it was hard too because everybody was like, you know, and they had good intentions, but you know, most people who hang out aren't therapists, and they're like, well, Jake, you had to live and sacrifice, and I'm like, I don't think that's how the world really works. But you know, and you know, I appreciate, you know, because the whole time, you know, we weren't like blaming God or anything or poor me, and you know, we just kept rolling. And then, you know, that's a whole nother podcast on our own, starting a behavioral health agency after that. You know, we were blessed with another child. You know, it was just hard, you know, and I look up to your, you know, your leadership and your heart, and you know, even though I complain, but always being positive. Like, I'm like, damn, this shit is draining, Nicole. I mean, shit is bad sometimes, you know, and you know, whole experience kind of slowed me down. You know, I think it just kind of slowed me down, you know, because when you get devastating news like that, you know, shit don't matter, you know.
Yeah, I think you gotta rework the way that you expected things to go, and kind of take a different look or perspective into what does matter most. Like, my goodness, I had cancer. There was a chance that I wasn't going to live through it, or that the surgery wasn't going to be the best, but it was. And I've lived through it. So, I mean, you know, the perspective of what did I learn from that, and what am I going to do differently with my family, with my work, with my relationships. It's a lot. And like I said, I feel like society just moves at such a fast pace. I feel like all of us as a society need to take a look at slowing down a little bit and really looking at the things that are worth our time. And I feel like a lot of that is family. Like, that, you need to spend time with your kids. You need to spend time with your significant other. You need to spend time with your mother, your grandparents. You know, don't let me get into how many, you know, elders are in nursing homes and they don't get any visits or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
it was terrible. I wish we slowed down sometimes, you know, and I think about it sometimes. Was it worth working? Yeah, it's not like we're, you know, lazy or something, but just the way, you know, I have to do another episode, but, you know, the dynamic of being wife and husband is really weird and interesting sometimes, you know, being your boss, you know, but
it's hard,
especially being a Puerto Rican, you know, like, I wear the pants, you just pick them out, you know. So, that's a hard way to go. But it's hard, having those balances because I write you up at work and then I gotta come see you. So it's interesting. Is that and I wonder, being a chief operating officer, and what's your mission with Vital?
My mission with Vital, and why, obviously I started with you. It was never my thing to ever start a business. Like you said before, you always said you were gonna get my own practice, and I'm like, I don't want to own practice. I just want to be able to work and see patients and make them better. And then you presented me with that idea a few years later, and I rolled with it because our mission and bigger picture is to help all those people that are in need that don't get seen that way. So, they're not a cancer patient, or, they don't have something chronically physically wrong with them. So, yeah, we're just not going to treat them. Like, mental health and substance use is a chronic disorder. It's a chronic disease, and it should be seen as such.
Yeah.
Like, the brain is addicted in a different way. It's just like any other physical ailment, and it should be seen that way. And I do believe as a society, we are moving towards that, and we are getting more mental health help for people. But I feel like my main goal for Vital Health is to continue growing it, and to get into those sectors that are not being served, like our kids. There are not a lot of youth services. And starting Vital Health with you, I've never been a youth provider. Never in the hospital was I a youth provider. But when we got into the youth camps at Vital for the summer, I completely found a whole new thing that fuels me. So being able to get residentials open for kids, crisis open for kids, housing for runaways, and then bring them in to get our services, get them through school, get them to college, help them change their mindset of, I'm just not somebody's kid who did heroin stuff. My mom just didn't sell me. Like, having that mindset is it's so empowering for an adult to be able to have an impact on a child, and for them to understand that they are something more than what they were told when they were little. They're something more than just their environment in that time and space. And for us to be able to do that and help these kids become better, and for us to see them growth, to me, it's very empowering. It's just like when I worked in the ICU, to be able to get somebody off a ventilator and see them walk and breathe by themselves and go back to their normal lives, and then see them walk in through those ICU doors again to thank us for making them better and for them living.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I might be an idiot. I don't even really know what a ventilator is, or, I didn't even know until you told me about COVID, how I used to, when I was young, I would they're like, I'm sick. And I'm like, no, you're just weak. And I would give them a handshake and a hug. And I didn't understand, but I flunked biology and shit like that. But, the kid, one of my most profitable moments, I'm trying to keep it together here, but I remember I jumped out of my truck one day, and a little person came up to me, and they're like, Mr. Jake, and they're always making fun of me and stuff. They tear me up, and this person was like, hey, Mr. Jake, thank you. Yesterday I didn't cut myself, and I was like, we did it. You don't get no. That's the profit. And they don't. I want to say they don't care, but we're underpaid, understaffed, underappreciated, sometimes. And I think, it's, dealing with the kids are heartbreaking. Sometimes I've been tearing, why are you crying, Mr. Jake? I'm like, I'm not, I'm not, I see even the challenges we have with our kids, and luckily we're able to provide as much support, as possible. But, the adults are the adults, but the kids, to see them in real life, what they're going through.
Mm-mm. Especially, nowadays with AI and technology, all the things that we didn't have growing up, I can't imagine, our own kids' challenges at school, I know, like, our kids come home and they talk to us about their weight and, you know, oh, there's so many skinny kids at school and the girls are skinny. And I mean, even the boys tearing each other down about their weight and all that stuff. I feel like, I don't know if I just wasn't in or if it wasn't as prominent then, but I hear so much from our own kids. I hear it from the kids that are in our programs. The bullying, the bullying through text messages, now making different websites and putting people up on them. It's
what they doing?
It's a different game.
Putting people on websites and shit.
Yeah, you can take somebody's picture and put it up, and then put a bunch of nonsense of them on there. Just creating different profiles of everybody.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say turn the social media off, but it's way different dealing with. I mean, shit's everywhere. You know, it's terrible, and kids are. Some of them are brutal. I'm like, why would you tell somebody that? You know, but a lot of times, you know, even sick court cases and stuff, you see a lot of it. Like, I don't think no kids are evil, but you know, they were taught that. Yeah. You know, kids are pure. You know, and you know, damn it, I just hate seeing that. You know, I hope we, you know, have opportunity to help a lot more people, and you know, God's with us to keep going. You know, and think about that. What's one thing you would like your staff to know, you know, about you?
One thing I like to know about me.
Yeah, we got like 60 kids. You know, remember I told you it's like a caseload of kids.
Yeah, we do have a caseload of kids. One of my reasons for getting into this business is that I want to provide better for our staff. I remember just going to certain workplaces and I just felt like I was just, you know, I was just a number there. Nobody really knew much about me. Yeah, you know, I came to work, I went home. There was no personal touch there. And I feel like us at Vital Health, I want to get to know each one of my staff members. It doesn't have to be on a deep level, you know, but just, you know, they have kids or they have a wife. If they're struggling through things, I want to be very staff oriented because I feel like if we keep the staff happy, they feel acknowledged, they feel cared for, they're going to empower and do the same thing with our clients. So I always want to make sure that my staff knows and feels like I do care about them and that I do want to get to know them. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like a deep level, friendship level, because that crosses boundaries with me being an owner and such. But I want them to feel supported, that if they ever do have any hardships going on, that we're going to be there to support them through, just like they've supported all of our clients and continue to support us. Because without them, we wouldn't be able to run Vital.
Yeah. No, well, I love you, and you know, I appreciate you taking time today. You know, I'll end with, you know, one thing. You know, if you had a terminal illness,
oh boy,
it's gonna be terrible. This one's gonna be terrible, and all your kids are sitting right there. What's a sentence or two of advice, and what would you tell them?
Well, I love you too. I would tell them that there is no point in stressing out in life. Taking one deep breath at a time and giving it to God and telling God, you know, these are all the things that I'm dealing with right now. God, please take them and guide me. There is no reason to be upset, angry, or mad because He's got you all the way. I want them to be happy and to be the best selves. And if they mess up one day, that's fine, because we have the next day. To always say sorry. My goodness, to always say sorry. And to mean it, too. Don't say sorry just because you think you have to do it. Mean it when you say sorry, and tell them exactly what you are sorry for.
Yeah. It's hard, and normally we have, you know, other business owners, leaders on here, and they promote some of their stuff, but I'm gonna give you an opportunity to promote our stuff. You know, tell them to go to vitalhealthmerch.com.
You can visit us at vitalhealthmerch.com.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.